Viridian, the Green Guide, written by Clouds, read by Distracted by Books. Chapter 100, Identity. So I hear you've been annoying Eraserhead lately. Well, more so than usual. Dobby took a sip of his drink. He really gave you detention? Kotsky shrugged. I needed to cross it off my bucket list eventually. I mean, I would have lived in detention in middle school if those poor excuses for teachers actually did their frickin' jobs. Dobby gave a small smile. So, what did you do this time? I broke into a hospital and might have helped the vigilante escape. Kotsky answered, so, a normal Tuesday. Dobby whistled. Yeah, that would do it. I'm guessing he still hasn't forgiven you? Nah, but he's got the sports festival to worry about, so he hasn't had time to do much more than brood about it. Kotsky said, I'm still deciding whether I want to win or not. Careful, Kachan. Dobby warned that ego might come back to bite you. Fine, whether I want to try to win. Kotsky rolled his eyes. I'm going to be an underground hero, so it might be best to keep to the shadows and let the spotlight heroes steal the show. That makes sense, Dobby said. You can always take a sidekick role, pick one of the popular kids, and stick with them through the whole thing. The people who know what they're looking for will see your talent. Everyone else will dismiss you as a non-entity. You get to show off and keep your cryptid status at the same time. I guess it's true that nobody pays attention to the sidekick, isn't it? Kotsky tapped his fingers against the bar. What about your plans for the sports festival, huh? You planning on coming to support your baby brother? Dobby had made the mistake of taking a drink right at that moment, and Kotsky smirked as he choked and spat all over himself. Even Dobby grabbing him by the collar and dragging him out into the alley couldn't completely wipe the smile off his face. Dobby snarled and slammed him against the wall. How the hell do you know that? I think you're forgetting that I'm an informant, Dobby. It wasn't too hard to connect the dots. Kotsky rolled his eyes and shoved Dobby's hand away. And if you're trying to intimidate me by making yourself run hotter like that, I should remind you that I have better natural fire resistance than you do, Tuya. That won't matter at incineration temperatures, Dobby hissed. Who have you told? If I'd told anyone, dumbass, Icy Hot would have shown up on your doorstep weeks ago, Kotsky said. And I don't really get why it's such a big secret. It's not like your old man is going to come back from the dead and make a stink about your faking your own death or anything. At least drop by and say hi to your siblings. Shut up, Dobby snarled. You don't know anything. Kotsky raised one eyebrow. I know those three have spent the last 10 years thinking they'd never see you again. And from where I'm standing, that's kind of a dick move. I get keeping your distance while the old man was still alive, but you should have at least reached out after the funeral. You don't know what it was like. Dobby glared at him. Endeavor made Shoto. He was the favorite. The rest of us were nothing to him but useless failures that were only good for getting in the way of his masterpiece. Kotsky was quiet for a long moment. That's not an excuse. Listen here, Ka-chan, Dobby growled. No, you listen. Kotsky interrupted sternly. You don't think I know what it was like? I was the masterpiece. I've spent my entire life thinking I was better than everyone else just because I had a bomb quirk. Everybody else was just extras on my path to greatness, and I treated them like shit, especially my best friend. But you know what? We started talking again, and we're moving past it. Yeah, it definitely still sucks, but we've both changed since then. So do you really think we should miss out on that relationship just because of something that happened when we were kids? If I still want Izuku in my life, then I'm absolutely certain that Todoroki still wants you in his. Dobby didn't look happy, but he also wasn't making any moves to kill him, So Kotsky was going to count that as a win. After a long moment, Dobby huffed and ran a hand through his hair. What makes you think I want him in mine? Meh, it's not like you have any other friends. Kotsky grinned and ducked the half-hearted stream of fire that Dobby sent his way. So, you gonna show up? Dobby hesitated. I'll consider it. You won't tell him? Kotsky looked at him in disgust. Don't want to get involved in your stupid family drama. Are you stupid? Dobby glared at him. I gotta go find myself a hero to sidekick for. Kotsky gave him a short wave and started walking away. See you later, Scarface. Denki was kind of freaking out. Aizawa had given him and Bakugo the option of doing the welcome speech together, but Bakugo had done the same thing as he'd done with the class president issue and shoved the responsibility onto Denki. It also didn't help that everyone was acting so high-strung about the whole festival. For example, Inasa walked straight up to Todoroki and without any preamble saying, I hated you the first time we met. Whoa, Inasa, dude! Sarah chuckled awkwardly. You can't just say things like that. I see no problem with it, Todoroki said calmly. Why did you hate me? And, if I understand you correctly, why don't you hate me now? Inasa grinned. You see, that's what I like about you. Willing to roll with the punches. It's a quiet kind of passion, but it's better than nothing. Thank you. Todoroki nodded, but you still haven't answered my question. Well, Inasa grimaced and rubbed the back of his neck. When we first met at the recommendation exam, I was kind of comparing you to your dad. Todoroki's expression turned even more stony. Ah, never mind. I do have a problem. No, I mean, I get that I was wrong, Inasa insisted. I met your dad once, and he was an a-hole, obviously. But then at the exam, I saw this burning hatred in your eyes, and I thought that hate was directed at the whole world, just like his was. I actually ended up rejecting my recommendation acceptance and was planning to go to Shiketsu, even though UA was my dream. When everything finally came out and I realized how wrong I was, that's why I had to take the normal entrance exam just like everyone else. Todoroki raised an eyebrow at him. Is this supposed to be an apology? Kinda, yeah. Inasa laughed. But it's also a declaration of war. You're a powerful hero in your own right, Todoroki. Probably way stronger than your dad was, but that quiet passion you've got isn't gonna be enough. I'm gonna beat you and win this thing. Todoroki was silent for a moment. You can try. Denki gulped. How was he supposed to compete when everyone was legit declaring war? He didn't want to disappoint All Might or the Vestiges or Izuku by losing, but what made him think he even stood a chance? He was just a dumb... He shook his head. No, he wasn't dumb. Izuku had said that enough times now that it was actually starting to wear down on the massive mental wall he had built from all the times he had been called stupid in the past. He just had to trust that his kind of boyfriend was smart enough to know what he was talking about. Denki felt his phone buzz in his pocket, and he grinned when he saw it was actually Izuku, almost as if he knew exactly how much Denki needed him at that moment. Actually, with how well Izuku knew him, he probably did know. He was so lucky that some grumpy uncle had challenged Izuku to go make some friends. He didn't know where he'd be without him. Denki picked up the phone and huddled in the corner for some semblance of privacy. Hey, babe. How are you? I'm fine, just sitting on the couch and watching all the opening commercials with Mom. Izuku's voice washed over him like a calming blanket. How about you? How are you holding up? Izuku, I don't think I've ever been this nervous, Denki confessed, and that includes OFA, you know? Everyone's so strong. I'm kind of freaking out. You've got this, Izuku encouraged. And I know you said All Might wants you to win and make this your debut, but you don't have to win to show the world what you're capable of. And even if you somehow completely bomb this and get eliminated in the first round, then that's just an excuse for us to get ice cream and cuddle on the couch, right? Denki chuckled. Is that a promise? Yeah. Izuku sounded like he was smiling. Are you going to be okay? Denki took a deep breath and nodded. I'll do my best. Good, Izuku said. I'm proud of you. Denki smiled brightly as he hung up, and a tingle up his spine was the only reason that he was able to keep Mina from stealing his phone. Who was that? Who? Denki asked uselessly. No one. What are you even talking about? There's no one. This is nothing. Nothing at all. You're acting kind of sus, dude, Sarah pointed out. So, not just anyone can make you smile like that. So it was a cute girl, right? Oh, a cute girl? Mineta instantly butted into the conversation. What's he look like? Does he have huge... Kirishima cuffed Mineta upside the head. It could be a boy, too. We're not gonna judge. Come on, guys, Denki chuckled awkwardly. We've been on, like, one date. It's nothing. He saw Bakugo give him an odd look, but he was distracted by how loudly Mina gasped, What? You've been holding out on us, Pikachu. So, what's their name? Come on, you idiots. Bakugo growled. It's time to fight, not gossip. The other classes are already lining up. But Kacchan, Mina whined. Later. Bakugo rolled his eyes and turned to Uraraka. You coming, Cheeks? Yeah. Uraraka finished tying her shoes and an air of determination surrounded her. Come on, guys. Let's show them what we're made of. Izuku's cheeks were hurting from how much he was grinning, and Mom was sitting beside him with a knowing smile as they watched Denki climb the podium. He looked so good in his gym uniform, and Izuku couldn't wait until everyone got to see him all lit up in electricity. He was going to do amazing. Hey everybody! Denki waved and gave the audience a lopsided grin that Izuku knew would make the marketing teams go crazy. This is our first sports festival, and I've heard like 3 declarations of war just this morning. So welcome to UA, I guess. This is going to be super intense, so I hope everyone's ready because we are Plus Ultra! Izuku couldn't help joining in the cheer and the following applause, even if he wasn't actually there. He had a handful of different notebooks beside him at the ready to fully analyze everyone's quirks and the matchups he saw, and he'd been so excited that he'd almost slipped up and rambled about civilian stuff to Eraserhead. This was going to be so cool. An obstacle course? Mom frowned. Like running around tires or something like that? Izuku shook his head. UA isn't going to put anything that simple. Look at the setup. You can already see the first obstacle? Really? Mom squinted her eyes. Where? Izuku grinned. It's a bottleneck. Everyone is going to try and get through the door at the same time, but... Oh! Mom's eyes widened. Oh my! That really favors the kids that can fly, doesn't it? Izuku nodded. Yeah, so Kacchan isn't going to have any issues. Neither will Denki if he's willing to think outside the box. But he's good at that, so I'm not worried. Midnight gave the signal to begin, and just as Izuku thought, everyone pushed against each other and fought to get through the too small door. He'd been expecting Kacchan to take the lead first off, but a kid with an ice quirk froze everyone else and skated ahead. Denki had been at the back of the pack, but he managed to use his magnetism to pull himself to the top of the doorway, which meant that his only problem after that was just getting down. What's this? President Mike's commentary made Izuku look at the mass of students a little closer. Well, folks, it looks like we already have a team up. Bakugo and Uraraka from 1A steal the lead from Todoroki. Their quirks are both very effective for mobility, especially when combined. Eraserhead sounded so tired, even while praising his students, and it made Izuku giggle. Bakugo might look like he's doing all the work at the moment, but Uraraka's quirk allows them to move twice as fast. Similarly, a lack of gravity wouldn't do her much good without Bakugo providing forward momentum. Top key analysis eraser, but is that gonna do them any good against the Robo Inferno? Izuku gasped. Denki had described UA's robots to him, but seeing them was something else, especially the zero pointer. Denki had taken down one of those? And before he'd even gotten one for All? No wonder All Might had been impressed. He was so cool. Todoroki froze a few of them off balance, and Mom gasped as the robots crushed a few of the students, only for them to burst from the metal seconds later. Izuku grabbed one of his notebooks. Invulnerability quirks were common and considered relatively boring, but they were so useful in hero work, and having two in the hero course during the same year could lead to some interesting team-ups, not to mention how the metal one could interact with Denki's quirk. The students made quick work of the robots, but Izuku froze as something caught his eye. One of the smaller robots had been electrocuted, but it was after Denki had already passed. Izuku's first thought was that it might be that support student with all the crazy gear that he'd seen in the crowd, but she was on the other side fighting a three-pointer. It wasn't until the camera did a close-up and he saw the black dot silhouetted against the mist from Todoroki's eyes that he dropped his pencil. Bees, Izuku breathed. She's using a student. Mom tore her eyes away from the screen. What was that, sweetie? Nothing, Izuku said quickly. I need to check something. I'll be in my room. Let me know if anything happens. He didn't wait for Mom to nod before he ran to his room and opened a stream of the sports festival so he could watch that close-up again. He'd been hoping it was a trick of the light, but he knew how Queen Bee's swarm behaved, and this was bad. If her host was a UA student, that meant that she could hurt the students at any time. It was probably how they'd gotten the info to attack the USJ as well. He needed to figure out who she was possessing. He watched the dots carefully, hardly even noticing what the other obstacles were. It was hard when the bees didn't seem to be helping anyone in particular. They mostly seemed to be gathering data on the students, which was its own particular brand of terrifying. They were swarming so wildly that Izuku couldn't even really tell how many there were. Then he saw one of them disappear. Izuku rubbed his eyes and rewound the footage. That had to have been a weird trick of the light, because the bees could do a lot of weird stuff, but they couldn't turn invisible, at least not on their own. On a second rewatch, however, the bees still disappeared. And now that he was looking for it, Izuku realized that the reason he hadn't been able to get an accurate count of them was because the bees kept disappearing and reappearing. But how? Izuku took a closer look at the space where the bees kept disappearing, and suddenly he felt like he couldn't breathe, because beneath the bees' hive was an empty uniform. An invisible girl. Izuku didn't even take the time to think. He grabbed an old backpack and shoved his vigilante hoodie inside, alongside his laptop, tool belt, and a few extra marbles. Mom, I gotta go do something. I'll be back later. Mom looked at him like he was crazy as he tore through the living room. But, baby, the sports festival. Record it. Izuku scrambled to put on his shoes. I can't afford to mess this up again. End of chapter.